Alright, well, I'm here with something really interesting, because I think it's really interesting. This is something called the Nintendo NES Satellite, and I'd never seen one of these before a couple of weeks ago, and just got my hands on one. Needs a little bit of work. Not too much, though, luckily. And what this thing does is lets you connect controllers for an NES and use them remotely. So this plugs into the NES console itself, and this you would plug your controllers into, which somehow it also enables you to have 4, which I'm not quite figured out how that works. There's like a turbo function, and you can do controller or gun, which is interesting, and there's a power button here. So you plug this, or you set this where you're going to be sitting, and this uses a looks like infrared, like an old remote control. It's got to be line of sight to the receiver that is plugged into the console, and then you can use it wirelessly. So if you couldn't get, if you always needed to be really close for duck hunting, to kind of ruin the game for you, this would let you work a little bit further back. So what I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to see if I can clean this thing up a little bit. I've already taken out all the screws, and to test this, you can see I've got some lovely, I think that might actually be from a bug, caterpillar maybe, I'm not sure. And I had some aluminum foil that I shoved down in here, because one of the issues that this thing has is, well, you know what, we're just going to take this off. I'll show you that battery contact down in the middle, or down at the end there. That's not in the right spot. So I'm going to take off this lid, and you can see really what I'm talking about here. So we can set my phone down and keep it in focus here. Maybe a little bit. All right, we're going to take this shell off. Ta-da! Big reveal. And let's see, we've got some more nasty rust. Or I assume it's rust. Looks like rust. And let's see if we can fix my phone. I'm working on getting a new tripod or something to make this whole video recording thing a little bit easier, because it's kind of a pain in the butt, I'll tell you that. Okay, I think that's gonna hold up for now. So, get the lid off, or get the shell off, and what you can see is somebody just kind of threw the battery contact into the case instead of trying to fit it back into its little holder there. So I'm going to try to place that back in where it's supposed to go. Looks like that just kind of comes out. And then on this side, this is the side that I'm actually a little bit more, I don't know if I'd say I'm concerned about it, but I'm going to take this out here. You can see it doesn't really have much to it anymore on this side, does it? Not much to it at all. The good news is, this is where I was able to take the aluminum foil and just kind of bridge the gap between the batteries, which didn't mention this before I opened up, but you can see here it takes 6 C batteries. This thing's huge. And I actually found online there's a mod that you can implement for this that lets you essentially use a power adapter. Don't remember what the specs of the power adapter were, but that might be something that I'll take a look at. But right now I'm trying to figure out what I really want to do with this, and if I want to get, I can probably buy some new battery terminals or connectors here. All this needs to do is bridge the gap in here, and having the spring is nice, but yeah, we'll see what I'm going to do with that. But the other thing I want to do is over here. I'm going to try to Dremel this down, and see if we can get it looking a little bit shinier, similar to the other one. So I am going to remove the rest of this unit, so that I can wash it up too. Looks like there's only a couple more screws here, 2 here, and 2 here. I was pleasantly surprised to see that this did work when I got it all plugged in, so that was pretty neat. I think this is one of the neater things that I've acquired recently, game console related, and I actually think I'm going to be able to make some use out of it. Or yeah, I think having little kids running around when you're using classic game consoles, it's one of the challenges, because you don't really want them running across, tripping over cords, taking the whole console down with them, ripping cords. Like, that's how a lot of these things got broken back in the day too, was little kids running around breaking stuff. There's the inside for you to one sec here, readjust. I just think this thing is so cool. I love these little I don't want to say they're rare, but working ones seem to be a little bit harder to come by. But this thing, I mean, look at that. This is literally a switch from controller to gun. And it's got the little LED there. There's a little power converter for the batteries, for the voltage. And oh, here there's the IR LEDs. Pretty cool. And there's the chips. And there's the controllers. A few resistors over there. Oh, sorry, a few capacitors and diodes, actually. Looks like a few more components hidden underneath there, but not a lot to it. So here's the battery terminals, which when I plug this back in, or hook this back up, I'll have cleaned it off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set all of these pieces to the side, and I'm going to give it the good old dishwasher, not dishwasher, I don't know why I always want to call it the dishwasher, but I'm going to give it the old dish soap treatment, and then we'll go from there. But for right now, I'm going to try, actually got to put my Dremel back together here. I've got some new, I actually just found this out about my little rotary tool. It's not technically a Dremel, but it comes with these little inserts. And those inserts get covered up by the actual, I'm not sure what to call it. The sheath there, and that is what closes around the bit. But there's different sizes of those little chucks, I guess, and that I've got on order from AliExpress because I've got these little precision bits that I want to try out. It's either over here, but they're much smaller than the bits that I can fit into my rotary tool currently, and that's the type of stuff that I need. The little teeny precision ones, so that I can do things like etch away circuit board PCB coverings. So I'm going to try using this this tool here. Used this on one previously. Ooh, you know what? Now that I've got this is a dust and fume collector. Technically, it's a fume extractor, or I'm sorry, a particle extractor, we'll call it, for a nail salon, a dust extractor. So I'm going to try to direct this down here and turn it on, and I'll stop talking while I do this. Well, the good news is, so this should at least, and that's really the only piece that I need in order to make it so that it'll work, is to grind that part off. I'm probably still going to go through and grind the rest of it down, but I may need a coarser bit there. I think I'm probably button up on the... to be perfectly honest, it's where my experience doesn't really come into play here, because I'm not much for knowing which bits to use other than fine and thick, but I've got a few other bits up there that I think I'm going to try to take advantage of and see if we can get the rust off. The other thing that I might do, I may actually have that thing sit in some vinegar overnight too. Try to break it up. I've had actually quite a bit of luck getting rust off of things by doing that. Yeah, but ultimately I may end up just grinding it out. But with that, I'm gonna go drop this thing in some nice warm soapy water and see what we can do to clean this baby up. Well, got a quick update on the NES satellite, and this turned out pretty well. Could probably do a little bit better job with it, but I think it's good enough, honestly, for now. And as long as I keep it out of moisture, it should be okay. This is the bit that I ended up using for it. I think it turned out pretty well, except for the fact those of you with perceptible eyes may notice a slight difference to this piece. I was dumb and was holding on to the clip there with the pliers while I was sanding it down. And of course it snapped off. This is what it's really supposed to look like. It does not look like that anymore, unfortunately, but the good news is I think I can still work with this. So let's see what I can work out to try to get the terminal connected back to this so that the battery can give us power once more. But yeah, that was dumb. Whoops. Alright, and I'm back with the Nintendo NES satellite that I've broken the connector off of. I've ordered a couple new battery contacts for the case. Those are supposed to be here in a couple days, but until then I did try to clean off all the rust on here. There's still a little bit, but I'm not really going to worry too much about it. The rest of it, I think, cleaned up pretty nicely. And over here we've got the back shell, which I just went through and chipped away more of the rust off of here because that was pretty bad, and some in here. You can see there's a little bit of a scrape mark, but this is going to be covered up by the battery contact, and it's going to be pushed away somewhere. So I wanted to get as much of the rust out of there as I could. It's not going to be perfect with how tight that is in there. I thought about soaking it in some CLR, but I'm really not going to worry about it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to partially reassemble it while we wait for the battery contacts to come in the mail, and we're just going to put it mostly back together. That's the switch there. I don't know, I love the design of this. I love how well it matches with the NES. I think that's pretty cool. Get this on there, come on. Maybe. I have to be very careful that I don't snap anything off here. Turns out the power one was of a different style. This one slides back and forth. And that's the power button there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the shell back on here. Fits like that. I think it turned out pretty nice and clean. And then we're going to screw screw these back into their homes. And then at a later time, we will worry about the battery contacts. The good news is the circuit board, everything else electrically, functionally, was fine. So that makes me happy, because that would have really stunk if I were to got it all working and then, well, it didn't do what it needed to do. So that's a good thing. But yeah, we're gonna see if we can make it work a little easier by replacing those battery contacts. Because I don't really want to have to shove aluminum foil in there every time I use it. And I still haven't decided if I want to do the mod where I can hook it up to a DC power supply. Might be neat, but I don't think I'm going to be using this terribly often. I do think this is going to increase my use of the NES, so I don't have to worry about people running in front. I can hook it up to the TV and I can play it wirelessly, which is really cool. But I don't think I'm going to be playing it too terribly often, so I don't think a DC plug is really going to be worth it. Also, it kind of defeats the purpose of having it be wireless when you do that. But maybe there'll be a battery mod where instead of having 3 C batteries or 6 C batteries, I can do something a little bit different there. And shoot, let's see if this can go over or not, or if I can take this back off. I feel like I should. Oh, let me see. Dang. Oh. There we go. Didn't have to take the thing off again after all. Kind of sits in there pretty nicely. Okay, so we've got that connected, and I've got a new battery terminal for this. I'll be plugging in there, and we'll see how that works. And in the meantime, I'll probably put this one back in. So let's see what that looks like. Really disappointed in myself for breaking off that terminal on the contact. I kept it on. I put it back onto the lead here just to see if maybe I'll end up using it. The replacement that I found has a little, I think it's a lag they call it, that'll slip right into this connector here. And I'll take this off so you can kind of see how that works. Back and forth, so that slides in like that, makes a nice tight connection. So the new contact that I have does have a lag that I can plug that into, but I don't know how it's going to work, if I'm going to have to like do it here, or if I'm going to have to bend the cable at all. I don't know, because this needs to be tight down here, and the way this one works is it's fed all the way down to the bottom. So we're going to have to see what I can make work. I also found a new plate for over here that will replace the sturdy rusty mess right there. So we'll see how it works. And this did ultimately clean up pretty well. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to end up using it now, but who knows? If the one that I get that's new doesn't work, maybe I'll try to finagle something with this too. We shall see. It's all an adventure. Till I get the new pieces, I am going to put the wire back. Looks like it has a little spot for it right there to keep it harnessed. Slip this on like so, and put the battery plate over it, and there we go. So keep this as is for now, and we'll wait and see what the future brings with those new contacts. Alright, we are back with the Nintendo NES Satellite, and we're going to do a slight mod with some new battery contacts. And I've got a couple different variations here that I ordered because I wasn't really sure which size was going to fit. So I've got these two here. And one thing I did not notice and take into account when I was measuring is there's a connector, or a connection, like there's plastic in between here that prevents me from sliding this straight down. Now, there's a couple different things I could do, and I may do them later if this doesn't work out, but I could cut in here. I don't really want to modify the plastic any more than I have to, so what I'm thinking about doing is sliding this here, fitting this over like that, and then sliding them in. The one thing that I'm going to try to do first is I'm actually going to bend these little barbs down with my pliers, so that if it doesn't work out as I really want it to, we're not out as much either. Maybe I won't bend the plier or the barbs down as much as I did with that one. I'll try it on this one a little bit more gentle. I was expecting to have a little bit more give on those, or a little bit more resistance than I had. So, as according to the battery chart here, they're facing this way, so I need the negative terminal or negative connector on that side, and then the positive terminal on this side, and we are just going to slide it in like that. And the batteries should make a pretty darn good connection, and those ones are supposed to be connected anyway, so I think that's going to work out pretty well. I might try to flatten it down a little bit more, but honestly, I think that's going to work pretty darn well. The next thing I'm going to do, which I need to be a little bit more careful on, but this is going to be kind of an upgrade compared to what we had. So I went ahead and ordered, that you can see this one, it's the same for the positive and the negative, which I thought was interesting. Usually with the negative, you've got the spring. So I ordered a spring version, and I also ordered a negative version and a positive version. And I'm going to try out the negative. And what I'm going to do is I tested this already. I kind of did a dry fitting of it. And this will fit right in there. But what I'm going to do, I also tested this out, and this fits on there like that. Nice and snug, not too tight. I can always crimp it down if I need to. But this also fits in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend this out a little bit. I'm going to try to be very careful with it to not snap it off. But I'm going to bend it at a 90 degree there. And then I'm going to bend it again with another 90 degrees. I'm just going to bend it with my fingers right now. There we go. So now I can slide this in here and kind of try to keep it in the center as much as I can. Okay, that's in there. And now we're going to put the terminal, or connect the terminal here, just like that. And we should be good to go. All right, that's it. So now we're going to try putting some batteries in this. Need 6 C batteries, so we're going to see how these work. And hopefully the spring doesn't have too much tension in it, but it's feeling good so far. Now we're going to try this one. Put those over on that side. Looks like we're making good contact here. Make sure they're all facing the right way. Moment of truth. I got power. Boom. I think those terminals are going to work out pretty well. I'm very happy with how that turned out. Now, if we take the batteries out, it's actually kind of easier than it was before with those springs. Obviously, I guess the rust doesn't really help that much either. But I think that cleaned up pretty well. I'm going to put the shell back on it. So let's put the screws back in. And off to the races we are. Well, I gotta say, this one was pretty satisfying. Wasn't quite sure what I was gonna do to fix it, but DigiKey has come in the clutch quite a few times for me in the past with a bunch of parts for electronics and other things. And they're not a sponsor of mine. I'm not getting any payment from DigiKey, but I will say I have had some luck. One thing that I will caution you on when ordering from DigiKey is make sure that you have your cart, your supplies pinned down before you order it, because I ordered everything in one order and then realized that I didn't have the negative connector, the one with the spring on it with the terminal end, or the solder lag. So essentially this, but with a spring on it. I hadn't ordered that one. I had a brain fart. I had an epiphany later that night while I was going to bed, of course. I'm like, oh shoot, I didn't order the one that I actually needed. So I went back out there, and I think it was like 68 cents to order, which is great, except that it was like $4.99 shipping. And I could not modify the order to add to it that 68-cent part. And within like the hour that I had taken to realize it, they'd already sent it to the warehouse, and there's nothing they can do. So just a little word of advice. But we've got nice solid power. Shake it a little bit. That's feeling really, really good. I think this turned out really nice. And I've got the receiver here paired with it. And this thing's already started out pretty darn clean. So I didn't even take it apart. I may do a little bit of dusting on it, but it's not bad. So pretty happy with this. Just had an epiphany. I wonder if anybody's ever tried connecting these together. Wonder how many you can daisy chain. That'll be an experiment for another day. Alrighty, well, until next time, thanks for watching. Okay, I had to come back to talk a little bit more about this, because as I was actually putting the video together, it hit me that, I feel like kind of an idiot now, that it didn't hit me earlier, but this is missing the spring. So the reason, like, I thought this was the same as the positive contact, because they are actually like the same metal piece cut out, but the difference is these little prongs, normally you can actually see the outline of the ring on it. That's from the spring that used to be on this. And I'm guessing just like the rest of this thing rusted to heck, that spring was probably the skinniest piece of metal and rusted right off a while ago, which is probably why the last owner, or whoever had it before, their fix was to move this, slide it out from the slot that it was in and slide it forward so that it would actually make contact with the batteries, which, I mean, I guess it did work, so there's that. But I had to come back because I'm like, I can't believe that I didn't notice that the whole time. I thought it looked weird, but I had never cracked one of the NES satellites open before, so I didn't really think about it. But it makes me feel even better about the fix that we ended up implementing. I think it worked out really well, and I can't wait to actually use it. I also made the decision that I'm going to see if I can find a few more online, because I really want to test out my daisy chaining idea and see. My goal is probably to get like 2 more, if I can get them for cheap. Maybe 3, we'll see. But I want to see if I can chain them in a way where you don't actually have to have line of sight to the Nintendo console, but you can have line of sight to each subsequent NES satellite, and see if I can daisy chain them around but still actually play the game. I imagine that the one thing that's going to happen most obviously is there's going to be a big lag, because it's going to have to send the signal from the controller to the first satellite, to the next satellite, and so on and so on and so on before it actually gets to the system. So I'm actually really curious to see how it turns out. But I think it should work, and I think it'll be fun to do. So maybe that'll be the next one, NES satellite video. Till next time.